Today we're taking a look at some of the most shocking and absurd verses in the Bible. These are crazy, these are wild, these are things that you're not going to be taught in church, most likely. And you know the story, I grew up in a strict Christian household. I have RTS, I have religious trauma syndrome, so I have read the Bible cover to cover. We're going to be exploring some of those verses today, and you probably get to see me go on a rant and get angry and triggered because these verses make me mad. Not like in a serious rage way, but they're upsetting because they are so shocking, and it's important to understand that this stuff exists in the Bible. And why is it important to know? Because this is direct. There are billions of people in the world who are Christian, and this has a huge impact on our collective society and our collective psyche. It affects everything. So this is important stuff. We're taking a look at some of the most shocking, some of the most absurd verses from the Bible. It's going to be good. Now we're going to get started, but please hit like and subscribe. Why? Because my channel is about bringing hidden information or just knowledge in general to the public to help raise consciousness. And so when you hit like and subscribe, it tells the algorithm to show this to more people. And so we spread information that way. So just take a second to hit like, and I appreciate it very much. Let's see, if you want to see my work grow, if you want to help me create better videos and bigger content and reach more people, consider supporting on Patreon. Patreon.com/MorgueOfficial, or on YouTube at tier 2 or higher, and you'll get access to all of our members only videos. There's a lot of them. So I appreciate that. Also, I want to let you know that my new book is available for pre-order right now. So if you go to Amazon and look up Neogenesis, Dawn of the New Mind, that is my first book, the first book of the Neogenian system. And it's available for pre-order for Kindle right now. There will be hardcover and paperback editions. Those aren't available for pre-order, but they'll be available on May 16th. So I'm really excited about that. You can go check it out. Go take a look. The cover is there. The blurb, the synopsis is there. Check it out. I know you're really going to like it. All right. And as always, too, remember that I do have a podcast on Spotify now where you can find these videos. And go give me a follow over on Spotify. Look up Dawn of the New Earth. It's Dawn of the New Earth on Spotify. We have a bunch of followers there now. Help me out. Give me a follow over there. So like I said, we can spread this information on as many platforms as possible. All right. All right. Let's get started. We're talking about some of the most absurd and craziest and shocking verses in the Bible. Like I said, I grew up in a strict Christian household. This is triggering for me, but it's important to know. It's important to understand. So we're going to jump right into this, and I'm going to be taking a look at this list was put together. It's called Absurdities in the Bible, and it's a list of absurd and shocking verses. And it was put together by Religion and Politics at the Dinner Table on Medium.com. All right. So if you enjoy, well, I don't know if you're really going to enjoy these verses, but if you like what we're talking about today, go follow Religion and Politics at the Dinner Table on Medium.com, because we're going to be taking a look at some of the verses that they compiled there, which is very helpful. So we're going to be taking a look at this. Like I said, now I've read the Bible cover to cover. I would read it at least twice a day, immediately upon waking and right before going to sleep. How brainwashy is that? Anyway, so I'm familiar with the Bible. I haven't looked at these verses in a long time. So I quickly skimmed this to be like, oh, okay, let's talk about this. But I didn't read them in detail. So as we read, I'm going to be coming across some of these for the first time in a while. So just so you know where I'm coming from here. So the author of this particular article says, when you're in church, you'll regularly hear how the Bible is perfect and that the books that were chosen to be included were divinely inspired. Meanwhile, the church left out numerous books that even are referenced in the canon in some cases, and many of these books help to make sense of the stories that were included. It's easier to believe that the Bible is divinely inspired and without error if you never actually read the thing. So this is all true. For the most part, it depends on what denomination of Christianity you are. But yes, I was taught that the Bible is the perfect, inerrant word of God, which means that there are no mistakes in it whatsoever. Everything is perfect. Everything is exactly how it should be. They basically believe and teach that the Bible is authored by God and that God just used the various writers of the various books of the Bible as almost like instruments, like pens, if you will. And so that the Bible is essentially authored by God, divinely, that's what it means by divinely inspired. It's inerrant, it's perfect, contains no errors whatsoever. Well, we're going to see what that's not so. But the author says, so why don't we take a look at some of these verses that were deemed to be divine, but either aren't talked about or are quickly moved past without much explanation. So we're going to be taking a look at some of these. Let's see exactly what they are here. Let's read the first one. This is coming from 2 Kings 2:23 through 24. Okay, yeah. All right. So this is a good one to pick. All right, check this out. Now he went up from there to Bethel, and as he was going up by the road, and this is talking about a prophet. I forget which prophet it is. I think it's Elisha. This is a prophet that's going to Bethel. He went up there to Bethel, and he was going up by the road, and some young boys came out from the city and ridiculed him and said to him, "Go up, you bald head. Go up, you bald head." They were making fun of him for having a bald head, right? So you have this prophet, Elisha, is going to the city. Some young boys come out and go, "Aha, you're bald." So what happens? When he looked behind him and saw them, he cursed them in the name of the Lord, and 2 female bears came out of the woods and tore up 42 of the boys. That's horrible. I'm not laughing. That's horrible. That's horrible. It's horrible. So, first of all right. I mean, it's not a fun situation. If you are self-conscious about the fact that you are bald, and you have a mass of at least 42 kids calling you baldy, yeah, that's not the best day you're gonna have. That's kind of mean. It's not the best. But having the Lord have 2 bears come out and tear apart 42 of them, it's a little overkill. No pun intended, don't you think? So let's continue here. And so the author, I love this. The author says, let's try to wrap our minds around how an all-powerful, all-knowing being who created all of creation would, for one, take the time to intervene like this for one person being annoyed by children, but then also to react in such a brutal way. And, okay, so one thing I want to get straight here. I'm going to read to you a verse that I consider to be one of the worst verses in the Bible, but I want you to take a note of something here. These children were making fun of someone for being bald. I mean, that's not nice. It's not a great thing to do. But kids say things. Kids do things like that. But apparently, right, the fact that children were making fun of someone for having a bald head was so wrong that God had them mauled to death by bears, right? Just keep that in mind, right? These children apparently did something wrong. They sinned, and for punishment, they were mauled to death by bears, okay? Keep that in mind. Now, with that in mind, I want to read to you another verse. This is not from the article. This is just a verse I want to read to you. Okay? This is about, and for those who are familiar with my channel, you probably heard me talk about this verse before because it's such a terrible verse. So this is about Lot and his daughters. Now, Lot is considered to be a righteous man of God. And God actually saved Lot and his family from being destroyed because they lived in a place called Sodom and Gomorrah. God didn't like Sodom and Gomorrah. He didn't like that city. He was like, they're all a bunch of sinners in that city. Anyway, So God destroys the city, but he saves Lot and his family because they're righteous, apparently. So I just want to now read to you. So Lot and his 2 daughters left Zoar and settled in the mountains. And he and his 2 daughters lived in a cave. All right. So they went in the mountains. Lot and his daughters living in a cave. One day, the older daughter said to the younger, "Hey, our father's old, and there's no man around here to lie with us." Biblically lie, as is the custom all over the earth. "Let's get our father to drink wine and then lie with him, sleep with him, and preserve our family line through our father." So that night, they got their father to drink wine, and the older daughter went in and lay with him. He was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. The next day, the older daughter said to the younger, "Last night I lay with my father. Let's get him to drink wine again tonight, and you go in and lie with him so we can preserve our family line through our father." So they got their father to drink wine, and the younger daughter went and lay with him. Again, he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. So both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. And then it just goes on to say the older daughter had a son. She named him Moab. He's the father of the Moabites today. The younger daughter had a son. She named him Ben-Ami. He's the father of the Ammonites today. All right, so they had children and whatever. Okay, so first of all, this is horrible. First of all, there's incest. And second of all, there's SA. They got him drunk. And they, as you know, I have to be very careful about the words that I choose to say on YouTube, but you know what I mean. They, without consent, had relations with their father after getting him drunk and getting pregnant. So first of all, this is just a horrible story, terrible. But second of all, nothing bad happens to them. Like, this is considered a righteous family of God. And there's no punishment. There's no, you know, not that I'm saying God should go punish a ton of people because he does that enough. But I'm saying God mauled to death a bunch of kids for calling someone bald. Yet you have SA and incest and all the, and God's just like, that's okay. So just to show like what sort of things are acceptable and what are not is just absolutely ludicrous. So anyway, let's take a look and see what some more verses we have here. And this is from 2 Chronicles 18:20 through 22. I haven't read this yet, so let's see what this one is. Then a spirit came forward and stood before the Lord and said, "I will entice him." And the Lord said to him, "How?" And he said, "I will go out and be a deceiving spirit in the mouths of all the prophets." Then he said, "You shall entice him, and you will also prevail. Go out and do so. Now, therefore, behold, the Lord has put a deceiving spirit in the mouths of these prophets of yours, for the Lord has declared disaster against you." So, I mean, this one isn't like, it's still bad, but it's not terrible. I guess it's just God having the prophets lie. Yeah, that's not the best thing to do. It shows how weird and deceptive and horrible God is. And by the way, I want you to remember, if you put this in the context of remembering that Yahweh, the God of the Bible, was originally a war god, like none of this makes sense when you come from the Christian angle of believing that God is a God of love and a God of mercy and a just God and is all loving. Like, this makes no sense. But when you realize that that's not actually the case, the God of the Old Testament God, was originally a war god, Yahweh, that sort of morphed into the monotheistic religion that we know today. So when you think about it in that context, well, yeah, makes a lot more sense that you're going to have this God destroying cities and mauling people to death and everything that they do. But it's no God of love. That's a violent, terrible war god. So let's see. This isn't the only instance, though, in the Bible where we see God doing something deceitful. Let's see here. I'm just seeing which one we want to. So the God of the Old Testament is extremely narcissistic, but swearing on yourself takes it up a notch. So let's see what this is. This is in Ezekiel. Then you are to lie down on your left. Let's see what this is. I don't know what this is. There's just so much insanity here. Then you are to lie down on your left side and put the wrongdoings of the house of Israel on it. You shall bear their wrongdoings for the number of days you lie on it. For I have assigned you a number of days corresponding to the years of their wrongdoing, 390 days. So you shall bear the wrongdoings of the house of Israel. When you have completed these days, you shall lie down a second time, but on your right side, and bear the wrongdoings of the house of Judah. I have assigned it to you for 40 days, a day for each year. We're not done with this, by the way. I have more to read, but basically God is having, I don't know who God is speaking to right now, lay on their side for the number of wrongdoings corresponding to the years of their wrong. So he's having someone lay on their side for 390 days on their right side and then 40 days on their left side because people did some bad things, apparently. God is a weirdo. Let me tell you this much. He has people in the Bible do some really strange things. I forget which particular story it is, but there is a story where it's always a war. There's two people, two sides going to war with each other. And God says to one of the prophets, as long as you can hold your hands up, you're going to win the war. So the prophet, I don't remember if he had to hold his staff too, or if it was just his arms. But he had to have his arms up. I don't remember if he was holding his staff or not, but he had to hold his arms up. And so he's holding his arms up. And yeah, they start, according to the story, they started winning. But he started getting tired after a while, holding your hands up for however long. So his hands started to drop. And as his hands started to drop, then they started to lose. So, oh shit, he raises his hands. And then he ends up having to get people to help him hold his arms up for him so that they'll win the war. Like, how dumb is this? Like, what does this have to do with anything? Like, this isn't even a matter of like faith at this point or trying to prove. It's just like, God's a weirdo. That's why would you do that? It's like he's just fucking with people at this point. It's up there with his angels. Like, hey, guess what I'm gonna make this guy do? He's gonna look like such an idiot. What the hell? So like Shrek makes more sense than the Bible does. The Shrek is more of a believable story and more of a cohesive narrative than how crazy the Bible is. But anyway, I completely got off track here. I just wanted to say God makes people do weird things in the Bible all the time. This is why he's having this person lie on their right side for 390 days, then on their left side for 40 days. Let's see what else. I didn't, but let's see, this continues. So after you do that, then you shall direct your face towards the siege of Jerusalem with your arm bared and prophesy against it. Now behold, I will put ropes around you so that you cannot turn from your one side to your other until you have completed the days of your siege. And that's what's in the Bible. Don't ask me to try and make sense of it. So let's see. Let's look at another one here. This is Jude 9. But Michael the archangel, when he disputed with the devil and argued about the body of Moses, did not dare pronounce against him an abusive judgment, but said, "The Lord rebuke you." So I'm not really sure. I don't know why that's particularly strange. Let me read and see what the author says here of this article. Why would Michael care about the body of Moses? Why was there a dispute? I mean, I don't know. It's a good question. Some would like to argue that it's because Moses had committed murder while alive, and this event occurred prior to Jesus giving an option for salvation. Oh, I see. They were arguing over the body of Moses, Michael and the devil. I don't know. Let's see. Here is in Exodus. Oh, this is a weird one. This is another one that's up there. So this is in Exodus 4:24 through 26. Get this. But it came about at the overnight encampment on the way that the Lord met Moses and sought to put him to death. That's not the end, but just first of all, what? Yeah, so Moses, Moses is a pretty famous guy in the Bible, liberating the people from Egypt, and it was a pretty important figure, 10 Commandments and all that. But one night, the Lord went to Moses and tried to kill him. Why? I don't know. He just did. He just felt like it. God was like, fuck this guy. Fuck him. So God tried to put Moses to death. So Zipporah, which I believe is Moses's wife. So Zipporah took a flint, sharp stone, and cut off her son's foreskin and threw it at Moses's feet and said, "You are indeed a groom of blood to me." So he left them alone. At that time, she said, "You are a groom of blood," because of the circumcision. So, first of all, the Lord decides, hey, I'm going to go kill Moses. And his wife, in response to this, cuts off her kid's foreskin and throws it at Moses' feet. And so God then decided not to kill him because of that. Does that make sense? No, it makes no sense whatsoever. And the crazy thing about this is that, like, a lot of people in Christianity, because I remember looking this up, like you would think that this would be a pretty big red flag if you read this. But the brainwashing is so bad in Christianity. I remember coming across this article talking about this verse on a Christian website to women about, like, oh, how we all need to learn how to be good wives, like Zipporah, or something along those lines. Like, oh, we should all be good wives. Like, they were trying to use this story as a narrative to learn how to be better wives to your husband. I don't know, in case God tries to kill him and you need to chuck a body part. It doesn't make sense. Like I said, Shrek is much more plausible than what we find here. So yeah, the author says, so why and how did God meet Moses on the way to the inn, taking on a seemingly physical form? Yeah, that's also weird. Yet later he has to appear as a burning bush that Moses can't even really look at. It's strange. I'm sure Moses wasn't planning to get jumped by God on the way to get a good night's rest. Thanks to some quick thinking by his wife, knowing that the Lord has a fetish for male genital mutilation, she decides to do some cutting for real quick and get some blood on Moses' feet so that the Lord would back off. The lesson we obtain from this divinely inspired story? I don't know. Just some nonsensical, wild BS. And yeah, that's absolutely right. And I want to emphasize, It's not as though these are one-off stories. I've already read to you, pair that one with the story of Lot and his, God murders children for making fun of someone's bald head. Yet Lot and his wife, or not Lot and his wife, Lot and his daughters, no big deal. And trying to kill one of his most faithful servants for who knows why, and then deciding not to because of the strangest reason. Anyway, let's continue. Oh, this is a good one. Okay. And God came unto Balaam at night. So Balaam is a person, an individual. I think he's a servant of God. I don't know. God came unto Balaam at night and said unto him, if the men come to call thee, rise up and go with them. But yet the word which I will say unto thee, thou shalt do. And Balaam rose up in the morning and saddled his ass, his donkey, and went with the princes of Moab. And God's anger was kindled because he went. So wait, okay, why was God mad that he? Apparently, Balaam was not supposed to go somewhere. I don't know why. Balaam got on his donkey and went somewhere, and God was really mad that he went somewhere. So what did he do? And the angel of the Lord stood in the way for an adversary against him. Now he was riding upon his ass, and his two servants were with him. And the ass saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in hand. And the ass turned aside out of the way and went into the field, and Balaam smote the ass to turn her into the way. All right, so God is mad. God sends an angel to kill Balaam. Balaam's riding around on his donkey. The donkey sees this angel that's going to kill Balaam. But apparently Balaam can't see the angel. Only the donkey can see the angel. I don't know why that makes sense, but okay. And so the donkey wants to save Balaam's life, so doesn't continue going and turns into the field. And Balaam gets mad and is like, hey, why are you going in the field? We need to go that way. And so smacks the ass and says, go. But the angel of the Lord stood in the path of the vineyards, a wall being on this side and a wall on that side. So it sounds like they're in an alley or something. There's a wall on either side, and at the end is the angel now. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she thrust herself onto the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall, and he smote her again. So they're walking in this alley or wherever there's two walls, and the angel is there. Going to kill Balaam. Balaam can't see him. The donkey can. So to try and not go towards certain death, the donkey tries to turn or whatever and smashes Balaam's foot. And Balaam didn't like this and smack the ass again. And the angel of the Lord went further and stood in a narrow place where there was no way to turn either to the left or to the right. Very small, narrow area. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she fell down under Balaam. And Balaam's anger was kindled, and he smote the ass with a staff. So now it's not going to move at all. Because she doesn't want Balaam to die, so she just lays down and refuses to move. Balaam gets mad and smacks it with his staff. Sorry. And the Lord opened the mouth of the ass. And the Lord opened the mouth of the ass, and she said unto Balaam, what have I done unto thee, that thou hast smitten me these 3 times? So the donkey is talking right now. If you didn't catch that, the donkey is talking to Balaam. There's a talking donkey. I told you that Shrek is more believable. There's a talking donkey in Shrek. There's talking donkey. And this is not the first time there's been a talking animal in the Bible. You remember all the way back in Genesis, you had the snake talking to Eve. Well, now we have a donkey talking to Balaam. Billions of people believe that this is a true story. So the donkey says, hey, man, what have I done to you that you've hit me 3 times? And Balaam said unto the ass, so Balaam, by the way, isn't surprised that his ass is talking. He's just like, oh, okay, well, I better give an answer. So Balaam said unto the ass, because thou hast mocked me, I would there were a sword in mine hand, for now I would kill thee. So basically Balaam says, hey, why? Because you're making me look like an idiot. And if I had a sword, I'd kill you right now. And the ass said unto Balaam, am I not thine ass? Upon which thou hast ridden ever since I was thine unto this day? Was I ever wont to do so unto thee? And he said, nay. So the donkey's like, hey, man, I've been your ass for a long time. And you've ridden on me for a really long time. And have I ever done something bad to you before? He's like, no, I guess that's true. Then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand. And he bowed down his head and fell flat on his face. So now Balaam can see the angel, and he's like, oh no, that's not good. And is bowing, laying on the floor, bowing down. And the angel of the Lord said unto him, wherefore hast thou smitten thine ass these 3 times? Why have you smacked your ass 3 times? Behold, I went out to withstand thee, because thy way is perverse before me. And the ass saw me, and turned from me these 3 times. Unless she had turned from me, surely now also I had slain thee, and saved her alive. So the angel is saying, if it weren't for your ass, I would have killed you and spared the donkey. And Balaam said unto the angel of the Lord, I have sinned, for I knew not that thou stoodest in the way against me. Now, therefore, if it displease thee, I will get me back again. And the angel of the Lord said unto Balaam, go with the men, but only the word that I shall speak unto thee, that thou shalt speak. So Balaam went with the princes of Balak. Okay, so I don't know. Like, does it not seem to you that God just like really likes to screw with people? He's having people lay on their sides, hold their hands up, got talking donkeys, invisible angels. It's just, anyway. So yeah, there. If you didn't know, there is a talking donkey in the Bible. And this is supposedly the perfect, inerrant, divinely inspired word of God. So here's another verse. And the Lord, this is in Exodus 32:14. And the Lord repented of the evil which he thought to do unto his people. Well, so this is a really weird one, because here you have God, it's like the author says, here is God repenting to himself for the evil he was thinking about doing to his chosen people. Let that sink in for a second. The all-loving, all-good God had to catch himself and even felt he needed to repent for how pissed off he was to himself. He was about to do some real nasty shit to them. Yeah, So God repented to himself because of his evil thoughts. It's so weird. It's just the Bible is weird. Oh, okay. All right. So this is in Numbers 24:8. God brought him forth out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of a unicorn. He shall eat up the nations of his enemies and shall break their bones and pierce them through with his arrows. Okay. So here we have a unicorn. Now, something I want to say about this, though. Because they're including this verse like, oh my God, look, there's a unicorn in the Bible. Now, something that I want to say about this. I by the way, I don't know if the author of this article is an atheist. I don't know anything about their beliefs. But I will say this. I find that it is often, these articles are usually written by atheists, and these lists are usually compiled by atheists. Not always, but usually. And they are usually pretty spot on. However, I will say that occasionally they put stuff in that is a stretch. Because I was a Christian for a long time, so I'm familiar with all the different responses and rebuttals to most of these things. Because Christians always there's something to say about all of these. And something like this, where it says, oh, look, there's a unicorn in the Bible, I highly doubt that they were referencing like the mythical unicorns that you see in fantasy movies. They were probably talking about just some one, like a rhinoceros, or I don't know, some one-horned beast or horned beast or something. So I just want to throw it out there. There are times where the atheist stories get a little, like that's one thing where atheists try to be like, oh, look, the Christian religion copied all these other religions because look, there's so many parallels with like Dionysus and other Greek gods and the Egyptian gods and whatever. I personally don't really think that's true. I think that these are all archetypal stories. And so they're going to have commonalities. There's going to be commonalities across these different religions, not because they're necessarily copying each other. Some of them probably did. But for the most part, it's because there's this underlying theme of what existence is that people are going to intuitively connect to, and it's going to come out in narrative and story form, not necessarily copying. Sometimes I think there is copying, but for the most part, I think that it's just archetypal resonance. Now, anyway, I just want to point that out because I think it's important that we be fair. And there's a lot of crazy stuff in the Bible, but you don't have to, take this stuff with a grain of salt. I don't think that whoever wrote that actually meant a literal unicorn in the sense that we think of today. And let's see, this is in Exodus. And as for the perfume which thou shalt make, ye shall not make to yourselves according to the composition thereof. It shall be unto thee holy for the Lord. Whoever shall make like unto that, to smell thereto, shall even be cut off from his people. So apparently, you're going to get punished if you smell like God? Is that what's being said here? Let's see what the author says. Of all the ways to incur the Lord's wrath, most Christians likely never think about the composition of their perfumes, but maybe you should. The Lord doesn't want anyone else smelling like him. And the author says, remember that all of the above verses were wholly inspired and chosen by the church to be included, while numerous scriptures were excluded. Also, keep in mind that a huge portion of the Christians in the U.S. rely on the King James Version translation and believe in a literal interpretation of it. Fun fact, I think the Trump Bible is the King James Version of the Bible. So there's that. It's a terrible interpretation of all the interpretations. It's a bad one. And then there's a quote by Mark Twain here Mark Twain says the best cure for Christianity is reading the Bible. And so, and this is where this article ends here, but we really just scratched the surface. Like, we just read a few, and these were, some of them are pretty absurd. You know, you got talking donkeys, you have God repenting to himself, and I read to you the story of Lot and his daughters. There are so many, like, you know, just play a game, get the Bible, go to the Old Testament, flip around, point to a verse, and see what you land on. It's probably either going to be violent or crazy. And this is taken by, this would be fine if this were understood as just a really weird myth that we have, you know, that throughout history humans have put together. But no, people believe that this is divinely inspired, the perfect inerrant word of God. And there are hundreds of verses where God is just massacring people. I think one of the worst stories is the story of Jephthah's daughter, where Jephthah offers his daughter as a burnt virgin sacrifice to God, and God's like, okay, and accepts it. You know, God has all the firstborn children of Egypt killed, floods the entire earth, kills everyone, human, you know, all the humans, all the animals. And the list just goes on and on and on. And like I said, the reason why this is important is because this is shaping our world. It's shaping, especially in America, our laws and our political atmosphere right now, as America inches closer and closer to becoming a full-fledged theocracy. I forget what politician, or was it even a judge? Susan was telling me about this. I don't remember which. I think it was a judge who said, oh yeah, we need to rely on the Constitution and the laws, except for the Bible. Like, the Bible is higher than that. The Bible takes precedence over that, which is just absolutely absurd. You look at this book filled with murder and essay and violence and talking donkeys and talking snakes. And this is the book that we should be using, apparently, to shape our culture and shape our lives and shape our world. Does that maybe seem like kind of like a bad idea? Kind of maybe like a bad idea. I know I say it, I know it's kind of funny, but really it would be like trying to shape our society around Shrek or something. I know that's kind of ridiculous, but that's how crazy these stories are. And I think it's important to put it into context and really understand I am at a point where it's hard for me to understand how humanity can function at this level of sanity. Humanity, for the most part, the large majority, are insane. Not even subtly, quite overtly, over the top, to the point where thousands upon thousands of people are dying or losing their rights because of how insane humanity is. And this is in large part due to the brainwashing narratives of religion. So this is why it's important when we talk about transforming religion. This is why it's important, because when we transform religion, we're transforming consciousness, because religion shapes consciousness. And so we want to get people away from these literalist, fundamentalist, violent, and fascist interpretations of the Bible before we have, you know, a full-fledged fascist theocracy in the United States. And it's just not relegated to the US. Look at all the horrible events going on in the world right now. Large parts of it are, if not rooted in religion, are justified by religion in large degrees. Tried to be justified, using religion to try and justify certain actions, etc. So this is a really big problem. This is something we have to realize is a huge impediment to creating the new earth. We have to transform religion in order to transform consciousness and transform the world. So I hope you liked some of these verses. If you want to see more, there are so many more absurd and shocking verses in the Bible. This is just scratching the surface. This is just this list someone put together. If you guys want to see more, if you want to see a list that I would put together, because I would select, like these ones were okay. There are some quite bad ones. If you want to see more, let me know in the comments. I'll do another video about it. But as always, my friends, hey, if you enjoy my work, please like and subscribe so that we can spread this information. Support my work over on patreon.com/MorgueOfficial or tier 2 or higher on YouTube by hitting the join button below this video. You'll get access to all our members only videos. Remember, my book is available for pre-order now. Neogenesis, Dawn of the New Mind, Kindle edition. Paperback and hardcover will be available on May 16th. So, also follow me over on Spotify. Look up on Spotify, Dawn of the New Earth. You can access these videos there. And it's just a convenient way to listen to these or watch these. And you can also follow me, and that helps spread this information on more platforms, and that helps out a lot. And always, my friends, remember, hey, this is not church, so don't feel obligated to support monetarily. You don't have to. Plenty of free ways you can support. I just mentioned a bunch of them, but I do want to shout out those who do support. It means the world to me. Thank you all so much for your support. And shout out to Renaissance Fairy, Cassidy, Angela, the Halloween Mom, Deed B, Fashida, Nusalina, Eric, Christopher, Joel, Thomas, Ryan, and everyone else. Thank you very much.